Hey everyone, it's Billy Bross with the Simple Marketing for Smart People podcast, where I'm speaking with smart people who have an area of expertise and are growing a business around it. And now they're in this position where they need to face their marketing dragon, which can be very scary. And so we're telling the stories of how they've battled that dragon and succeeded. And today I'm joined by Dane Sanders, who is the founder of Men and Women of Discomfort. So thanks for joining me, Dane. And tell me, what is this business that you have built?
Thanks, Billy, for having me. Men and Women of Discomfort is an odd thing to market in the world. We're basically inviting people to make a single choice to opt in to our little 12-week program. And during the course of those 12 weeks, we make 100% of their life choices for them, like comprehensive choices, like when to eat, what not to eat, what to drink, what not to drink, when to sleep, for how long you are in cold water or holding your breath or meditating or reading or journaling or doing good deeds for people and not getting credit. All of these kinds of habits we kind of ratchet up over the course of 12 weeks. They're the kinds of habits that many people have aspiration for. They wish they did more of these things, or maybe they did in previous parts of their life, but now they're not, and they're frustrated. They're like, I don't like the way my body is or the way that I'm relating in the world. And we do this massive reset to start a new relationship with themselves. But what I'm excited about most is not those 12 weeks, is that people do get in ridiculously good shape and then they become walking billboards everywhere they go. But what's more interesting is they actually discover a sustainable path that can perpetuate for the entirety of their life. And we set them up to do that. So our job is to help people become strong and awake for love's sake for the whole of their lives.
I love that. I love that. So it certainly sounds uncomfortable. It sounds like
It
a lot of
is.
discomfort.
It is. And it's
Uh,
funny that we're talking about marketing because I don't know anything in marketing like that's being marketed currently that is standing on the platform of we'd like you to be inconvenienced, um, things to go longer than they should, that it's uncomfortable the entire time. And I think that's what actually makes this project one of the more fun projects I've ever been a part of, because no one should be buying this according to what traditional marketing is. Traditional marketing is cheap, easy, quick, fast, and
right.
we are none of those things and are overt about it. In fact, our tagline is, it's probably not for you. And we're going to talk, I'm sure, about that as well. But it's one of the, probably my most favorite thing I've ever done, and likely will be my life's work.
Well, I love it. It's so inspiring. I can't wait to dive in more. And I love what you said there. Your tagline is that it's probably not for you. And that's something we actually say early on in the book in Simple Marketing for Smart People, is that if you are being honest about this, by that I mean your marketing and your message, which we say you should do, then in many cases you should be turning people away in order to find your perfect person. And you found plenty of perfect people and you're growing a great business around it. So I love that. And your area of expertise then is different, and you're different in a couple ways. So the first way is this area, which is I would put you in the personal development category. And that's probably
Sure.
where,
I
read a
think
book
that's what
on it.
people put me in that category. So I think that's probably fine. Yeah.
Yeah. You publish a book on this, you're probably going to be around other personal development books at the bookstore, right? But it's such a different approach. And so your experience, your expertise is not something that they teach you in school. That's for sure. They probably should.
Hmm.
But it's around this area of leaning into discomfort, voluntary discomfort, in order to build resiliency and to flourish. Is that an accurate assessment?
Totally. Yeah. Jerzy Gregorek, famous world champion Olympic weightlifter who became a coach at UCLA, um, and wrote a book called The Happy Body. His quote that is probably the most succinct way to articulate this is, hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. And what most marketing communicates is, hey, we are the easy choice. Choose us, choose this thing.
Right.
And kind of in the words of Zig Ziglar, everyone is zigging, we needed to zag. So our message is actually, if it's convenient, if it's easy, if it's comfortable, it's a trap. you are being sold something that actually isn't going to serve you in the category that we are seeking change in. And instead, we suggest that if you can, whether you join us or not, making the hard choice will set up a better life. And making the easy, simple choice actually makes your life more difficult. I actually think we're committed to comfort at a level that nobody else is. We're actually super committed to comfort, but not instant gratification. We're interested in the long haul comfort, the kind of stuff that people thrive in the whole of their life with. And the way we got to it is kind of shocking. We stumbled into it. We didn't realize our good fortune when we got there.
And so you have a different background also in the sense that, so to back up, so you have this, you're starting to build this business and you're getting results for people. And this is about where our paths crossed. And you said, look, like this is working and we need more people.
That's right.
And unfortunately, it's not if you build it, they will come. We need to breathe life into this thing, this venture, this marketing. We need to do marketing. We need to battle this marketing dragon. And that's where a lot of smart people get stuck and frustrated because they say, look, I'm getting results. I'm really good at what I do. I have experience in this. How do I get more people? And more importantly, how do I get new people without being gimmicky, being hypey,
That's right.
and hard selling? So you're also different in the sense that you actually do have a traditional marketing background. So I'd like you to speak to that and what you thought marketing was, and then the aha that you had and what you think it is and know it is now.
Yeah, so I did my undergraduate degree in marketing, and at the end of my degree, I felt like I had learned how to manipulate people to buy things they didn't want or need. And I felt really gross about it. And in fact, so gross that I decided to run as far as I could in the opposite direction. I was like that character in that old 80s movie with John Cusack, Say Anything, where he's standing outside the window holding up the boombox for his girlfriend. Like some people know that movie. They might remember a Peter Gabriel song from that movie that's really interesting. But however you remember it, this character in the movie, when he was being interviewed by this girl's dad, and the dad was saying, like, what do you want to do for your future? He said, well, I know I don't want to buy anything sold or sell anything bought or produced or process anything sold or bought. And he basically was like, I just want to date your daughter and do kickboxing. I think his two things were. And it's silly. Like that was me. I was just like, marketing is gross. I don't want that. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I wandered into grad school studying philosophy. And as I was studying philosophy, I actually started studying a guy named Aristotle, who talked a lot about the good life, the non-consumable life, the flourishing life. He actually had this fancy word for it called eudaimonia, which was beyond happiness. It was a sense of really rich thriving. And he talked about how do you become a good person who could actually enjoy that kind of life. And it turns out that to do that, it requires some rigor. It requires some discomfort to get there. I didn't know it back at the time. I was thinking at it more in like heady language, but that's what he was talking about, whether I knew it or not. And it was around this time I graduated from grad school and got a job teaching at a college. And it was around this time where I got introduced to two individuals. One person was a guy named Seth Godin, who I know all your listeners know who Seth is. And it was remarkable. I have a fun story I can tell on another podcast someday about how I was writing a book manuscript and I snuck my manuscript onto Seth's Kindle. That's how he read it, and he ended up endorsing it, and we became colleagues and friends and over years. And but it was very sneaky. And that's what I thought marketing was, honestly. It was like, be sneaky. And it was around this time that Seth graciously started enrolling me in an idea of, what if you were actually, it was more important that you created the kind of impression that people were missing you if you weren't there, that you gained permission to be in their life, that you positioned and told a story. And that's what I think marketing is telling a better story. You told a story where when people heard it, even if it was only one person, that one person wouldn't just come back and get your stuff. They would tell a friend. And the story was accessible and easy enough to tell that they could go and do that easily. And it would actually spread that way more than it would from anything else. And that ultimately it would be a contribution to the person's life that was transformative. Anyways, all that to say, the other guy I met was a guy named Donald Miller. He's also a story guy, and had a chance to do some work with him. And then I had a chance later on, Billy, to work with you and to really come at this thing as comprehensively as I can and as deep as I can. And I'm realizing this is not just content you learn and you're done. It's, if you're going to get good at this stuff, there's no end to the bottom of how much you can unearth and discover and take on. And I actually have become a massive marketing fan, because now I view it as a way by which you can cause change in the world. People can change their perspective on the thing that you are offering. And this thing that you're offering could actually be positioned in such a way that it's the answer to people's dreams. It's actually what they're looking for. And when they find it, they're grateful. They don't feel like, you don't feel gross. They're like, I can't believe I found the right thing. It's like, I remember, if I'm trying to fix something in my home and it needs a particular bolt, and I'm at the hardware store, when I find that bolt that fits just right, I would pay any amount of money. Like, I'm just so glad
Right.
to find that thing. And as I do my best marketing when I keep that in mind, I do my worst marketing historically when I try to convince people to do something they don't want to do.
So is that the key then? I love what you said there. When I keep that in mind. So you had this shift, you
Yes.
had this hero's journey of sorts where you had this traditional marketing background. You said, I want nothing to do with this. I'm just deceiving people. It's gimmicky, smarmy, the whole thing. And then I love how there was even that moment where it really symbolizes that prior you, where, as clever as that was, you did sneak that thing onto Seth's Kindle.
Yes.
It was a
Indeed.
sneaky marketing tactic, right? I think it's actually pretty funny, but that's almost a symbol of your former self. So now you're in this position where you have this new outlook towards marketing. So is that what it is? Is it a mindset shift? And if so, why do so many people, I would say the majority of people, and most people reading this book for sure, have that prior mindset that you had?
Yeah, well, the majority of marketing, well, first of all, bad marketing works, right? If it just doesn't sustain. That's the problem. You just have to keep getting new customers over and over and over again, as opposed to getting a few customers, ignoring the crowds, and focusing exclusively on the impression you can make on a few. But the impression is such that they're doing the marketing for you. They're the ones that you're equipping them with the story you're telling, so that they can go and tell that story. And the story they're telling is really about them, not you. It's how they transformed. Well, how did they transform? Because of the thing that we offered them. And they're now the person who found the special thing, and they're telling their friends about it. That isn't focusing on me getting new customers. That's me focusing on my existing customers and them getting something very special. So it certainly is a perspective change. But I do think there are tactical skills that are required to do that well. It's not just, now I understand and that's it. It's like, no. Learning what a story is, how to tell a story, how to get a core message positioned so that people come to believe that you are the solution that you're looking for. I mean, I think this is at the core of what you offer, Billy. And it's one of the reasons why our work together has been so beneficial for what we do at Men and Women of Discomfort.
Yeah, and I just had an insight too. I love this because we're in a similar position where something that you preach at Men and Women of Discomfort is that, hey, and I love that you said we actually love comfort, but we're thinking about long-term comfort.
That's right. That's right.
And there's such a distinction between the short term and the long term. People really overlook that. I preach the same thing about marketing, where I see, I know a lot of these marketing gurus, and when I see behind the scenes and I see what they do, and they'll take a screenshot of that revenue graph where they had this huge, maybe it's an online course launch, and then they go out and they say, hey, look what I did. You can do it too for $2,000, whatever they charge. What you don't see is that thing stopped working. They will do something that's very flash in the pan, very short-term thinking, promote it like it's going to work forever, but it does anything but that. And so we're both in a similar camp where we're saying, no, like things do work. Bad marketing works in the short term, and embracing comfort, short-term comforts works in the short term. But the people that we want, the perfect people, which is not most people, the readers of my book, the people in your program, are in this for the long haul.
Yeah, and it's ironic too, Billy, because if you're in this kind of short-term fix a problem, like switch on the surface, it can feel like, gosh, I'm getting quick wins and this is really working. But it's actually a disproportionate amount of extra effort that if you go further upstream and solve the problem, not the output of the problem, it actually solves a way more. It's way less work. But the irony is, on the front end, it doesn't feel like it. On the front end, it feels like I'll do anything to avoid 5 seconds of pain. And like even in men and women of discomfort, like one of the things that we prescribe in our exhaustive prescription for people's lives is pretty early in the program, you start taking cold showers. And in a second, I'll even tell you a better example. But the cold shower is really 5 seconds of discomfort. Like it's the shock. You get in, and once you slow your breathing down, maybe 18 seconds. Okay, like you slow your breathing down, you acclimate, and you're pretty okay, unless you fight it. If you embrace it, it passes quickly, and then the net effect is you have this euphoric experience for like hours. It's like this short little pay price for a long return. But it's amazing how people will disqualify themselves from participating because of that really short-term discomfort. And I think that's the same with the work that you're doing. The other example I had was there's a lot of people who won't do men and women of discomfort because of the idea that we would prescribe that they can't have creamer in their coffee. Like they draw the line there. They're like, there's no way I could do life without creamer in my coffee. Or like no phone in your bed. Like there's no way I could exist. And I'm like, okay, well, it's probably not for you. Because we're actually looking for people who want to pay that short-term price because it's so cheap to get this massive return. But instead what they do is they do all of this extra effort that if you just didn't have the phone in the bed, if you just didn't have the creamer, if you just did the hard thing, you have the better life. And I think what you're prescribing, I think, is kind of marketing of discomfort. But it is for smart people. Simple marketing for smart people. Smart people make the long-term bet, not just the hack and the quick fix. And I think that's why your book is going to be so resonant with so many.
Thank you. Yes. And hey, look, I was one of those people, and still from time to time I give in where I see the Facebook ad for that shiny object, and it's the new webinar, the new funnel, whatever marketing tactic it may be. And without fail, it might work. If it does, it's only for a little bit. And you're right that the hard work, the discomfort comes from sitting down and talking to your people, and not even talking, but really listening to them and hearing their stories. And then answering that question, what do they need to believe in order to properly value what I am offering here? And what that takes is education at the end of the day. And that's not as sexy as saying, hey, we have this 15-step webinar funnel that you can press a button and it's going to spit out money, right? That's a lot more sexy promise. But that's also why we get a lot of people who have been burned by that kind of thing in the past. And now they know better. I'm sure you get those people too. I'm sure you are not the first personal development program that they've tried before, and now they're ready for the real thing.
Well, and it's ironic because we do know that they've tried a lot of things, and we're overt about it. We like, and there's things that look a lot even like us that they've tried that don't work. Like there's this outfit that a lot of people know about called 75 Hard, and I've done it. It's a really cool program. But the universal reality about 75 Hard is if you ask anyone who's done it, you ask them, so what happened on day 76? And 100% of the time, like no exception, people say, well, I put my trophy on the wall. I did it. I'm done. They quit. And well, you had 75 days of health and you had a little reset, but 75 days from now, you're back where you started or worse.
Right.
So what do we do with that? Like that's broken, fundamentally broken. They've also tried, big leaps, New Year's resolutions. And what consistently happens is every December, they still get out of the shower and they look in the mirror and they're like, I don't like what I see and I'm discouraged. I used to be an athlete and I'm not. I want something different. And I don't know how to get there on my own. And we recognize that. And all we've done is we've built a system for people like us to do things, Seth Godin line, to do things like this, where we together commit to doing these things. I've been doing this now for over 5 years, 4 times a year, without a break, and I am flourishing. Like I'm way less of a jerk to my wife. I'm under 12% body fat. I'm a CrossFit athlete, works out 6 days a week. I'm running an ultra marathon on Saturday. I'm 54 years old, and I'm not special. Like, there's nothing special about and not, a lot of people don't have those kinds of aspirations. I get that, but you don't need those aspirations. We have 65-year-old people who have had cancer who are in our program. We have college, like every age, every demographic. And what we're realizing is these are universal principles. These are universal stories. And I think it took us a minute to get to what is that story, to be clear. Like that, it's work, and it's uncomfortable. And it's so tempting to kind of try to find what has somebody else done and try to replicate it, as opposed to the deeper dive. But I don't know, there's much more gratifying, though, when you find a resonant, true story that's yours to tell and put that into your core messaging. That's a very satisfying exercise. And again, the reason I'm on this podcast, Billy, is because I'm so grateful to you for teaching me your frames, your perspective. You're a practitioner too. And I think when real practitioners are together, you can get a lot more ground taken than people on their own, trial and error, trying to make it work. That's just a fool's errand, and it takes a lot longer than it should.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so in the book, we talk about the importance of your core message, which we brought up a few times now. So I want to go deeper into that for you, because you were seeing that you were getting results, but you still had to market this thing. You had to get the word out there about it. And it's not about marketing channels, because if you figure out your core message, you can test out Facebook versus Instagram versus LinkedIn, whatever. It's not about the marketing tactics. You can test out a text sign up page versus a webinar, whatever the tactic may be. It's really about that core message. And where we really zero in is on the thing that you do differently. So this is making an argument, because we see marketing as an argument for your way of doing things. It's not just posting content about your topic, it's taking a stand. In my 5 light bulbs framework, which a lot of our readers will be familiar with, this is represented by light bulb 3. So what has been the importance of the light bulb 3, or your core argument for your way of doing things, when it comes to the success of your marketing in this business?
Well, let's back up just a second. I think light bulb 3 is the right conversation for sure. But I want to back up and just declare what my business is. My business is a monthly recurring revenue model. It's a membership community. So people are signing up, they're paying a monthly fee to participate. And it's not just, even though they're buying with the mindset of I'm going to get in for 3 months, most people get involved for multiple years. And like, that's what's become normal since we've started. And about 50% at least join up. We have about a 20 to 30% churn, people who start and then quit. But even that's decreasing, and I think I know why. But the big thing we do different, candidly, is we do a little marketing outbound, but we do most of our marketing within our community. People who've already paid. We're actually telling them the story so that they're equipped to tell the story. So if you picture this, they join our community, and let's pretend for giggles that actually people are physically transformed. They actually, because they are. Like, it's just common for people to lose 30 or 40 pounds within 12 weeks. And not just lose weight, they're gaining muscle mass, increasing bone density, decreasing their visceral fat around their organs. Like, they're adding years to their life, and quality years to their life. And in that process, they realize it's actually not about weight loss and fitness. It's about developing the ability to do things they don't want to do, but they know are good for them, that they want to do, but they don't want to do yet. And we train them to become those kinds of people. Well, along the way, what we realized was we needed to articulate what was going on for them. Even though they were physically transforming, we needed to give them language to talk about what was going on for them. So we built out this framework internally that is a reflection of what goes on for our participants. We're constantly looking and measuring and trying to find the language, but we landed on this thing called Credo, which I came up with in the context of working with you, Billy. And we won't go into the long story of what Credo is, but the point is we came up with a framework to articulate how people increase their level of commitment in their life. And as we did that, and we shared this with our people who were struggling to stick with their week in, week out practice, and they started transforming. Everywhere they went, as they're losing weight and getting in shape, what do you think people would do? They'd walk up and say, Fred, what are you doing? You look amazing. And we did two things. We said, Fred, when this happens, because it will happen, you have two jobs to do. One, work on your own practice. Make sure you understand what we're doing for you. Full stop. We don't care if you tell anybody, just you need to know what this is. Second, when people come up to you and say, what did you do? Fred, you have one job. Turn to them and say, this is probably not, I could tell you, but it's probably not for you, and turn and walk away. Don't sell them. And of course, what does that do? It's a little cheeky, it's a little clever, but really what happens is we're testing to see if the person chases Fred down and says, no, really, Fred, I want to know. And then Fred actually has something to say just to an audience that's listening. And what happens? We've not done any marketing apart from taking care of our existing customers, giving them a way to talk about it in our community. And we talk about it all the time. It's literally baked into how we do the program. And we do that over the course of 12 weeks. They're fully immersed. And it's like a 12-week everyday webinar that helps them become the people they want to become. And now they're equipped to become salespeople. And that's the only way we've grown. We've never done any paid media. Because people check in on this video app we use, and we get their permission, we are able to share some of their transformation in their own words. So it's like testimonials and social proof. But all they're saying is the stuff that we would say, except for it's coming from their mouth, not ours. And this approach, I think, has been a counterintuitive. Like I never would have thought that this is marketing, but this is absolutely marketing. But it's not marketing in the gross way. It's actually marketing in the way that you feel proud of, and you don't have to like wear a bag over your head. You just feel like, oh, this is actually who we are and what we do, and it's probably not for you. Unless you want to look like that guy. If you want to look like Fred, you might want to tune in.
Right. And it's such a deeper way of doing marketing because there's different ways you can get people through the door.
That's right.
You can get them through the door with the countdown timers and the fake urgency and all the gimmicks and all that stuff. True.
Yeah.
But how likely are they to have that experience, the Fred experience, and to repeat your mantra, your credo? I love that. It's a perfect word for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such, your business is such an exemplar of what we teach, where you're making an argument for your way of doing things and instilling this philosophy in your people, and not just on the marketing side, but on the delivery side too. And yes, there's a pragmatic reason that you need to do it because you have a subscription and you don't want people to churn, but it's deeper than that. And even if you don't have a recurring business, we advise that you still do that on the delivery side of your business. The marketing doesn't stop once they become a client or a customer.
That's right.
So just imagine that person who became a customer because of that countdown timer that hits 0 and then just resets to 20 minutes again, versus a person who embraces credo. Just think about that long term. Again, that long term thinking. What a better customer that's going to be, and how that. Because look, the people who run, who do the fake urgency thing, they like a profit too, and they like low costs. So think about the lower cost that you get by empowering your people to be your best salesperson.
That's right. Talk about Seth Godin. One of the things he talks a lot about is having a minimal viable audience. Like how few customers can you have to start a business? And because I was doing this practice, like this was what I did already with or without friends, and I just kind of wanted some friends, so I invited them along, and it was really I don't know if we'll get into the origin story in this call or not, but me and my friend Tim did this, and we invited one guy into it. And so we had a customer of one, and he didn't even pay us any money. He just showed up. And then we had another customer, and because he showed up and we were the boss, we told him what to do. And like the first thing we told him to do was we were at the YMCA, and we said, because we were all together at that point, now we're virtual, and we were like, it was a rainy day, and there was all these empty parking spots at the Y, and we parked at the furthest spot out from the door. And my friend Taylor, who joined, he was like, what are you doing? I was like, well, we're men of discomfort. Like, we're going to park over here. And he's like, this is so dumb. This is so ridiculous. And I was like, this is it. Our interest is to keep looking for the uncomfortable thing and keep choosing that thing. And that's when we started cluing in. Well, customer one, and then one more customer. And then we had 4. And then we had 10, and 9 of them quit. So we're back to 1. Like, these are what the early days really felt like, to be really crystal clear. Currently, we have 170 active participants in MWAD, paying an average of about $100 a month. And I look at that and I go, it's the same work. It's the same system. And we know that about 50% will return. And of those 50%, of the 100% that finish, all of them are going to be walking marketers on our behalf. And even people who do it for a season, then leave for a bit and then come back, that's also a huge surprise. They realize they want this in their life. So I say all this to say, and this is a nod to other great marketers like Ryan Holiday, I think of a lot. The best way to market anything is to have a really, really good product. And then a product that actually delivers and is really decent. And I think that's what I'm probably most excited about, is I'm living into it myself. But then that's not enough. You really do have to position it in the marketplace so it's easy for those who are benefiting from it to want to tell their friends. And that's what we were fortunate enough to build.
Yeah, it's and please, everyone, we'll put the link to Dane's business in the show notes, and listen to the story about Dane and Tim. It's really an incredible story. And you're right, and it's often at a balance where there's a lot of people like the professional marketers who are really good at the marketing tactics and the channels and all that, but then there's no product there. The reason why I do what I do is I saw that imbalance where there's also a lot of people like yourself, and this is what attracted me to you and your business, where the product is incredible, but it's the other side that's out of balance, the marketing side.
That's right.
But it's so much easier for me.
Yeah.
And it's not surprising because it's good because you know so much about what you do. You poured endless hours into your business. But the double-edged sword of that is this smart person's dilemma, where you're on the inside of the bottle, so it's tough to read the label.
Yeah.
Right. It's tough to communicate it in simple terms to someone who's never heard of you before. And that's where we work together to rectify that and to put that clear, simple, powerful message out there. And so as we wrap up here, what do you say to that smart person who has this area of expertise? They're getting results, but they kind of have their foot on the gas, but one foot on the brake, because in order to reach more people, they have to do this icky thing called marketing.
Yeah. Well, I hope by now we've established there are different kinds of marketing, and one kind isn't icky. So first, be smart enough to pick the non-icky kind. But the second thing, and probably more important thing, honestly, is and I'd put myself in this position. I think in my worst marketing days, I'm usually what I think is the smartest guy in the room, and that's a problem. That's a serious problem, because if you've had success in one category, doesn't mean that you have knowledge and wisdom and skill in another category necessarily. That they need to be hard won in every domain. And I think writing simple marketing for smart people is a generous act for the smart people, because I suspect you're basically going to say, become a student. Put yourself in a position where you don't know anything for a minute. Just try it on for size. See if it fits. And I know from experience working with you, Billy, and Tiago, I should add, that there's you guys are, again, I can't state it over more definitively. You guys are practitioners. You get in the weeds, you do the work. And even though the work may feel like, wait, I'm going backwards, like I'm going back to beginner, I thought I was a smart person, you're actually going radical leaps forward, because you're expanding your capacity in new categories. And especially if you think you know marketing, but based on results you don't, it might be resourceful to take a pause, take a beat, and see if this might not open up massive doors for you. And I promise it will. Humility
is my favorite virtue.
Well, being humiliated is my least favorite. And I've done both. So I'm with you.
I hear you. Well, thanks so much, Dane. And again, we'll put it in the show notes, but what is your website? Where can people learn more about you and the men and women of discomfort?
Yeah. So the easiest way to get there is, if you're a man, go to menofdiscomfort.com. If you're a woman, go to womenofdiscomfort.com. But both of them go to the same place. We hang out. We're very inclusive, and love to have everybody involved. And every age, every shape, every size, no matter where you're at. We've done this enough now where we have a pattern that we know really transforms lives. And if you're sick of being sick and tired, I think there might be a path forward. So Men and Women of Discomfort, or mwad.io is the main site. Oh, I should add too, if it's helpful, I have this little website called askdane.com, and it's just a little walkie-talkie, video walkie-talkie site. You can jump on and say, hey, no one else will see it. Let's get into a one-on-one conversation. I found that a lot of folks have really customized personal questions that they just want to get clear about, and that's another great resource, askdane.com.
That's a great idea. What a great use of technology.
Thanks, Billy.
That's cool. Yeah, thanks so much, Dane. Thanks for doing this podcast. And thank you for helping to shift the perception of marketing, because if we can do that for enough people, then we can really change the world. I believe that.
I believe that too. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the way you lead, man. Really appreciate you. Send my best to Tiago.
I will. Take care.